Hello, I'm Josh, and welcome to Frugal Me Live, where we talk about all things related to your finances. I am so excited because today we're going to talk about the simplest method that I believe that you can save the most money, and who better else to have the conversation with than Rochelle from Rochelle Adamson Budgets. Aloha, Rochelle.
Hello there, Josh. Thanks for having me on today. Hello, and thanks for having me, I guess.
Oh, well, it's such of a pleasure to have you here today. And congratulations to no more car payments.
Yes, I'm so excited. I am so excited. I still can't believe it. Thank you.
Oh, those crab legs that y'all made, the king crab legs. Oh my goodness, they look so delicious as well.
It was so good. And it was nice to stay on budget. I tell you, that makes it taste even better.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you feel like a relief, like freedom, like.
Yes. So many times people tell you that, a mortgage and a car payment is just something you have to pay the rest of your life, your whole adult life. And it's not true. It doesn't have to be that way. And I'm learning that, at every point in the road, every obstacle we overcome, every time we pay something off, I'm like, I feel freer. This is so beautiful.
That is so awesome. So tonight we're just going to dive right on in. I'm going to try my best to keep my eyes on the comments. And if you see the comment, if you want to reply to them, feel free to dive on in. And also, I want to go on and give a special shout out to Keisha, my wifey over there, who's working all of the technology here.
Yes, thank you.
Just take one more thing off on my plate. So that really helps out a whole lot. So, all right. So, Rochelle, can you just tell us, everyone, a little bit about your channel and also yourself and where we can find you?
Well, my channel name is Rochelle Adamson Budgets, and you can feel free to check me out anytime after this live, of course, to find inspiration behind budgeting, paying off debt, and staying debt free. Because I really do believe that life is a journey and money is something that we always have to touch and deal with, and we need to learn to deal with it responsibly. So feel free to check out any of my content. I'm also on Instagram, same name, a little bit different, Rochelle Adamson YT, and Twitter, Rochelle Adamson, and also Pinterest, same thing. So I'm pretty much everywhere, just diving in and looking for those who in the same community who are looking and have the same goals.
All right. And also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well, right?
Right. I can't believe I forgot to put that on my list. Thank you, Josh. We just went live for our podcast. We are now on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere else you prefer to listen to your podcast. So feel free to catch our Money Monday live episodes. If you're unable to connect with us live, our podcast does have a replay, and you can still catch up and get the content there.
Alicia said, did somebody say crabs? That is so awesome.
That's my friend.
All right. So tonight we're talking about the cash envelope system. So what in the world is the cash envelope system for someone who's not quite familiar with that?
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it because, Josh, you have to know at one time I was not a believer. I was strictly someone that budgeted on a computer and just looked at my credit card statement at the end of the month and wished for the best as far as paying it off. But now that I have really taken on this goal of being debt free, I now have instituted different things such as the envelope system. So, of course, the envelope system is something that unofficially started through the eyes and hands of Dave Ramsey and his whole production. But the reason you want to use an envelope system is because it's a way to track exactly how much money you have in each budget category for each month by keeping your cash tucked away in each envelope. And basically, it's an easy and simple concept. Once you've run out of money in that envelope, you can't spend in that area of life. So if you use up all your fun money, that's it until next month when it's time to re-up. Now, I don't follow as strictly of a system when it comes to the envelope system. I do tend to mix my envelopes up. So say if I'm, having fun with my family, and we do run out of cash in that envelope, and I feel like it's a good time, we're going to add $20 from another envelope and put it in that envelope, as long as we are still sticking to cash and making intentional purchases while also living our best life as a family. That's the goal.
Awesome. And I love that you have to be intentional. So that's a key word, because a lot of times I feel that people that they plan, but they're not intentional with what they're planning. So therefore, they're not really sure the direction they're going. They're just having big dreams, but you got to make sure that you're putting the domino pieces out at the same time to make sure that you're moving in that way. So, awesome. So, so what are the benefits, do you feel, Rochelle, that spending cash over using a credit card?
Well, like I said, I was strictly electronic before. And what made me try cash is I realized I have a relationship with money. I'm a natural spender. And when I swiped my credit card, I didn't really feel anything. I wasn't tied to it. I would forget I bought it. I wouldn't go back and balance my checkbook at the end of the month or at the end of the day. But once I switched to cash, I felt every purchase. It was like a hit in the stomach. Like when the register would, say you owe $19 and I would hand over that 20. Sometimes the person would have to snatch it from me because I'm like, I didn't know my total was going to come to $20. Like, what in the world? And so once I started realizing that relationship that I had with visually seeing my money leave my pocket, I was like, oh, I have to switch to cash. I have to. Now, my husband, he's pretty good. He hates when I call him frugal, but I tell him it's a compliment because he doesn't have that same problem. He's a natural saver. So that's the benefit of using the envelope system, the cash system, whether you choose to do the cash way or an electronic version, it benefits two different type of spenders. And another thing that this reminds me of is it kind of alerts you to your conscience and just how your conscience is affected when you're spending, because if you spend that money, your conscience is instantly going to be like, do I really need this? Now, whether we are in denial or accept it, that's the truth. That's really what happens. That question pops up in our brain like, should I put this back? How many times do you walk through the store and you see stuff on the shelves, out of place because somebody has just set it back down like, you know what? I didn't really need that. So that's what the envelope system can help you to do.
Yeah, that relationship. I know how you feel when you hand over that money. It's like Uncle Benjamin is leaving you at that point.
Yes.
Especially like if someone with a card, a lot of times that you don't have that attachment to it. They say, oh, that would be $500. And you just like, okay, whatever. And not think about it. Where whenever that cash, they can be like, I can go to Five Below. It's a dollar store that we have here. And they say it's $5.55. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's over $5. Let me put that back. So it's all about that connection. So there are people out there. So what would you say to that person who say that cash don't work for me or it won't work for me? Like, what can they do?
They should try out an electronic envelope system. If you don't, want to touch a whole lot of money, I understand the times we're living in. We are in the middle of a pandemic and economic crisis. I understand. And you don't want to have to go to the ATM and deal with surcharge fees and bank fees and all that. Try the electronic cash envelope system. Some people even call them sinking funds, electronic sinking funds. And basically what you do with those is you do the same system. You would allocate a certain amount to each category: groceries, gas, fun, bills, rent. And each month and each pay, you would make sure that you are adding to those envelopes online. There's a lot of banking systems. I know PNC is one bank that I do use, and I recommend their bank accounts strictly because each bank account that you are able to open with them comes with 3 accounts off top. It comes with a spend, reserve, and growth account. And I love that because it instantly gives you 3 separate buckets to put money in and take money out of. Another option electronic wise is Capital One 360. I'm old school. I have to catch myself. I still call it ING Direct.
ING.
You do the same thing because it's so easy to sign up for an account. Now, unfortunately, this is the unfortunate thing. Nowadays, I'm hearing that there is a soft or hard pull to open those accounts, which is sad because back when I opened them up, not showing my age at all, those requirements weren't in play yet. So I have like 4 or 5 of those accounts. And so I'm able to add to those and pull from them as needed. And the beautiful part is it takes time for those transactions to clear. You put money in, it's called a firm decision transfer, because forget about it. It's not going to happen for a week. And if you need that money anytime soon, you're not going to get it. So it really kind of seals the deal and helps you to see the seriousness of saving and making a plan and budgeting. So that's what I would say to the person who doesn't want to use cash.
All right, nice. I see that we have a question here. Oh, what is there any good debt? What are your thoughts on that?
This is a good question, especially coming from this individual here who is very, very intelligent. So good friend of mine, Alicia, she asked that question, I'm sure, because it comes up a lot in conversation, especially when you're talking about purchasing a home, purchasing a car, making all types of large purchases, maybe a rental property. In that case, I do consider those as forms of good debt. But if you're on that level of spending money and accruing debt, I really think you need to have a plan and you need to be disciplined. That is not something that I would recommend for a beginner budgeter. That would be for someone that I'm assuming is debt-free, doesn't have any real financial responsibilities, and can save money quickly so that they could quickly pay off that debt. And so also you want to make sure that that thing that you're investing in, that home, that car, whatever, is a good return on investment, so to speak. So are you able to house a tenant year round, make that a good expense? Or are you is your home always empty? And so I really think that, revisiting your budget and being real with yourself will help determine whether it's good debt, if there's such a thing as good debt. I think it's individual by individual. It's not a blanket or umbrella type concept at all. It really depends on the person.
Okay. Well, thanks for your insight with that. So back to the cash envelope system. Someone like me, I like to shop around and make a lot of purchases. Well, when I say a lot, it's smart purchases on eBay. I always haggle the price. A lot of times I say no to more purchases than I say yes to, because if I can't get it for a great deal, I just pass it on. So with shopping online like that, how would you handle purchasing things online using the cash envelope system?
I would say in cases like that, I know for myself, I am an online shopper. I just prefer, it's easy. I don't have to leave out my house to do it. But what I do is every budget, I allocate money to go to a pot, an online banking pot, or wherever the money sits, somewhere online, so that when it's time to spend that money, I will use a credit card that's dedicated just for those type of purchases. And then as soon as that transaction clears, boom, I'm making that transfer from the bank account to cover the purchase. I don't want to accrue any interest. I want to see my balance say zero before the end of the month. So I think, like I said, if you can really stick to it, you can be an online shopper or an online, type person and use the electronic cash system. It's just a matter of discipline. And I feel like that's something that people can be successful at any stage of the budgeting experience, because that's something that I had to learn early on, because I was a natural spender, is, hey, listen, you can't buy this until you can truly afford it. In fact, Micah's rule is similar to yours. If you can't afford to buy it 3 times over, or whatever his number is, I can't remember what his rule is, then you can't afford to purchase it. And so really just dialing down, even if it's $5, it's like, do you have $20 saved for that exact purchase? Then no, don't buy it.
Okay. So what about if we're using just the cash envelope system, what happens when we run out of money before the end of the month?
Life stops. It's over. No, I'm kidding. The first thing I do, because this is the realness here. If you watch my channel, you will watch me run out of money. It does happen on occasion. There are unexpected things that happen. If you run out of money, the first thing you want to do is look at that cash envelope and say, what is it? Now, if it's food, or if it's gas, or if it's essential cash envelope purchase or system, you know you need to add some money to it. Now, this is where Dave Ramsey and I kind of had the split in the road, because he says if you are out of food money, you need to eat out of your pantry. You hear that phrase all the time, eat your pantry out, eat your fridge out. Of course, I would say do that. But at the end of the day, we are talking about survival. If you need food, go get you some food. If you have money, do what you need to do, make the transfers and take care of your essential needs, your four walls. But if you're talking about, oh, I want to go have some more fun. I had so much fun last weekend. I want to do it again. That's your business, what, your final decision. But my advice is always to just stay home. Find something free to do where you can have just as much fun. And then next month, make a plan so that you can spread your money out a little more evenly. Like, I know for me, any money that I have that I do accrue, I split it up. I don't always show that on camera, and maybe I need to start implementing that. But I split my money so that I know I have 2 buckets, one for the first 2 weeks of the month and one for the second 2 weeks of the month.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the opposite side, you're at the end of the month now, but you have a surplus. Sometimes I have, I guess I wouldn't call it a problem, but it's a great experience to have, that I get to the end of the month and I'm looking at my wife and I'm like, did we pay everything this month?
Right.
Like, we have all this money here. Then I go and crunch the numbers and I'm like, wow, we have hundreds of dollars left over. So what would you say to the person, or what should you do with that extra money that you have left over at the end of the month?
I actually always make a plan to have extra money at the end of the month, because unless you've got it down to a science, which I don't exactly have yet, I know how much income is expected for the month. But for some reason, it either always comes in over or always comes in under. And for the most part, it comes in over. And that's just whatever the taxes or whatever you have taken out of your check. So I plan to have a bucket of money. And so in advance, before that month even starts, I'm talking about, hey, Mike, what are we going to do with this extra money? Like, I talk to him very infrequently, because Micah, he is so good at saying the plan for the year. So he's like, hey, when you have extra money, let's start knocking out the car. Hey, when you have extra money, just start knocking out the house. So I know in my head, if I see an extra $1, I'm putting that on a credit card. I'm putting that on a mortgage, or I'm putting it on something so that I don't have to see that money anymore go that way. That's my goal. I'm always thinking about the future me. How will the future me thank me for the decisions that I made in the past? And at the same time, that's what I'm saying. At the same time, I also have a set of money that, hey, this is our blowing money fast money. This is our, you know what, we did a good job. I'm putting this money to the side. And that was our mukbang money. And we knew that the day would come when we would pay the car off. And so we just kept setting $20 to the side every month. Out of that $100 for savings, $20 would go into a separate account. As long as you're making an intentional plan in advance, you are going to be successful. It's very few times where I talk to people and they're set, they have their budget, they have their plan, and they're not successful. And it's because their mindset is different. They want to win with their money.
Oh, yes. All right. So can I use the cash envelope system and still enjoy life? Because
if anything, yes, even more.
Because you have a lot of people out there. When I say a lot, I'm not talking about the majority, but you do have people out there that says, well, whenever you talk about a budget, you're like, oh my goodness, that's taboo. Like, don't say the B word, budget. Ooh, right?
Yep.
So when people think about spending just cash, they think that you're robbing them of freedom, or they don't have the luxury to do those things that they want to do. So just tell us briefly about how you can still enjoy life by living on a budget and using the cash envelope system.
I feel like I enjoy life now more than ever because we have a budget, and because I see our overall debt, seeing that number go down, it's motivating. It just hits different when you log into your account and you start to see more and more money in your bank account because you're making the right decisions. And so I think that we're able to enjoy life now more because we're not so fixated on when are we going to pay this next credit card? And when is that due? And avoiding phone calls from bill collectors. All of that stress is gone because the budget has been signed, sealed, and delivered 2 months ago. Now in my YouTube videos, I tend to post my upcoming monthly budget the week before, but technically that budget is done 3 to 6 months ago. And I'm making adjustments, once we get closer to that month for any life changes that have happened. But I don't play about that budget because it's such a peace of mind that you have that you can enjoy, because you don't have to worry about money, and you don't have to worry about how much money you're making, because you've done such a good job of budgeting the money that's that you're expected. So that whole line that says don't count your chickens before they hatch, I count them over and over 2-3 times, because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I'm pretty sure that's a Dave Ramsey line or somebody like that. But I mean, same idea. You have to start somewhere. Start where you are is what one of my favorite lines that I've heard recently.
Yeah, and the way that I see a budget is pretty much, and I said it a few times in my video as well, that a budget, if you were going on a trip, you would want to know. If I told Keisha right now, like, let's go on a trip, she would say, like, where are we going? Why are we going? How long is it going to take us to get there? How many days are we staying? What do we need to bring? It's all of this planning involved. But a lot of times when it comes to our money, it's just like, oh, well, let's throw it on out. And my thing is, I tell people all the time, if you have money to throw away, throw it my way. Send it to me. Because a lot of times, it's like on the highway, just letting money out of the window because you're not planning accordingly in order to reach your destination. And then you look back, you look ahead 5, 6, 10 years from now, and you're like, why am I in the position that I'm in? But then you start looking back and retrospecting on the things that happened in the past. And even now, I'm the same way. Like, if I would have only done X, Y, and Z 10 years ago, I would have been in this position now. So that budget is pretty much your roadmap to financial freedom. And I believe I saw Asia comment where she was saying that a budget is just giving you permission to plan. No. Ooh. To spend.
Josh, if I may interject, you said the T word. That's travel. I love that. That's the reason I budget. And so, as a travel agent, I'm always telling this to my clients. I'm telling them the sooner you can let me know 3 major things: where you want to go, when you want to go, and how much you are willing to spend, is the sooner I can start to find the perfect trip for you that matches your budget and the fun that you're looking to have. You can't come to me saying you want to go to Disney World next week for $5,000 and think everything's going to be okay for a family of 5. I might be able to perform a miracle, but I mean, it's just that peace of mind that comes saying, hey, listen, in a couple of years, I'd love to set up a graduation trip for my daughter to Disney. How can we start making that happen? What can we do to save for that? I love planning for those type of people because I know that they're going to have fun and come home from having that fun and not open up a credit card bill because they're planners. They're planners. And if they are using the card, they have the money. They just knock that credit card bill right out. So I think that there's more fun to be had on the other side of budgeting and stand on the road to debt freedom. We just have to get on that road. We just got to do it.
Okay. And we have a question here from the Neelys present Grandma's Wealth Wisdom.
Hello, Neelys. Ever heard of profit first and combining that with cash envelope system with your business? Let me make sure I understand the question. So they're saying any profits you have first, you take that profits from your business and then use that as far as, so like using the cash envelope system in your business. I actually haven't heard of that, but I am so down for it. Why wouldn't it work? It works for your personal life. Heck yeah, let's try it for the business too.
Absolutely.
If anything, that will help you at tax time because you're going to be able to let your tax person, or if you do your own taxes, you're going to be able to see exactly what money you spent where throughout the year. So I the only thing that you have to be careful with as far as using cash with your business is keeping track. And so those receipts those bank statements are really going to have to be dialed down. You're really going to have to be able to take notes and say, hey, listen, I took out $200 to buy this office chair for my job or for my business, and write notes on the side so that you can remember that at tax time. That's the only concern I would have. Just a bird's eye view. Yeah, because we got to be able to claim it at tax time or it didn't happen.
All right. So how do you build flexibility into your budget is what we're looking at.
I have a miscellaneous category. I believe in miscellaneous. I have, as of 2 months ago, I switched the miscellaneous category to cash. So that's one thing that I do. The other thing is on the road to debt freedom. Our first goal that I don't hear Dave Ramsey talk about a lot, or a lot of other financial advisors per se, is getting at least 1 month ahead on bills. I got that actually from Frugal Chic Life. I have been watching her channel for years, and she was the first person I ever watched that said those words. And I just thought that was the sexiest thing ever. I'm like, so 1 month ahead, meaning you have enough money to cover life expenses for 1 month. That way, every time you get paid, it's not a big deal. And it's to the point that I have to set an alert in my calendar to remind me that it's payday. That's how good getting at least a month ahead on your bills is.
Those are golden.
Yeah, because you think about it, like if you're paying your mortgage, like I've paid our mortgage ahead, it's paid till September. I have it in my notes, but I paid that like in June. But that's helping me pay down my debt quicker, because any extra payments I have or have been making all this time, boom, go straight there. So I think that there's different ways you can be creative to and find to be flexible in your budget. Some people think that a zero-based budget has to be strict, but a zero-based budget will actually help you find your money. Sometimes you spend, and that's the thing that I didn't bring up at all, is that sometimes we're spending too much money. Even though we're under budget, we're within our budget, we're still spending too much money. If you have 6 streaming services, it's a good chance you're only watching 1 to 3 of those. So how about you just revisit that budget 2 or 3 times a year and say, hey, listen, did we use Hulu enough? Did we use Netflix enough? Okay, how about we chuck one of them? And another thing that I do that I don't think people do enough, this is the last thing I can think of, is I'll keep streaming services as the example. I noticed that they rotate their shows. And, for a season, they'll be pushing a certain show, and for another season, that show is gone. So if there's nothing really good on, cancel the service. It's a monthly service, right? So use that to your advantage. It's not something you got to pay for annually. So I will cancel my Netflix for 2 months. This is things that I used to do in order to get ahead and free up more money so that I could pay off some more debt. I am known for making $4 payments on my debt. There is no shame in my game. I will make a $400 payment and be just as happy to make a $4 payment, because I know that I'm attacking debt from all angles, all because I was flexible with my budget.
Awesome. That's powerful. Is there anything else that you want to share with us today, with the community here?
I would say the biggest thing is to start now. Start somewhere in your money. Start so that your future self can have something to thank you for. Small changes add up. Like I said, make that $4 payment. No one has to know that you're making that $1 payment. Some credit card companies do have a minimum, but I think you get my drift. Like, make the payment. In fact, I feel like, because sometimes I'll just test things out. I haven't seen any credit card company turn me down for making a $1 payment, as long as the payment is at least a whole $1. So I think my goal is what I would say to someone is just to start now where you are. Watch free content, be inspired. Don't feel like you have to spend money to find out these gems, these ways to be successful with your money. Don't feel instantly like you have to spend money or pay someone to help you. As long as your mind is open, press that button, go to YouTube, go to Google, go somewhere and find out more about how you can create a budget so that you can live your best life. Watch Josh's content, just frugal me. Watch my videos, just keep going. And there's going to be moments where you fail with your budget. And I think that there's not enough conversation about that sometimes, but you need to fail And you need to fall hard enough so that you know, hey, you know what? Let me get back on track. Let me start that budget back up, because this is what I'm doing now and it's not working. So that's my advice, is just to start now, start somewhere with your money.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Rochelle. If y'all want to catch up with Rochelle, all of her information is down in the description box below. And thank you so much for coming on in for Frugal Me Live. And join us next week, where we're going to dive a little bit more into, we're going to dive a lot more into budgeting with Sierra over at Asia Sierra Budgets. Next week with us. So I'm just so excited and can't wait to talk to her a little bit as well, just about coming from a budget angle, because when we budget, that is so important, because that's telling us where we're going. And I love the point where you were saying that whenever you started your budget, that's when you start finding more money. It's whenever I start budgeting. Budget is not restricting yourself to your money. In my budget, I still take my girls out for ice cream. I still take my wife out on dates, multiple dates. We go out there. I know a lot of time people say, well, you can't go out to eat. Well, especially not right now in the pandemic. But when you are being frugal, my whole philosophy with that is not being cheap. If you want to know what cheap look like, I just dropped a video a few days ago about what. But being frugal is pretty much being resourceful, being smart about your money, budgeting, planning, that type of stuff. So how Dave Ramsey, and I'm not knocking at all, but when he said, yeah, you got to go on rice and beans, beans and rice. I know that he's not meaning that literally.
Scorched earth is what he's saying.
On the budget, if you want a steak, go get a steak, but just make sure it's in your budget. Don't go in debt for that steak, because that's the worst depreciate in value that you can have, is putting your food on credit. So you just want to always make sure that you're planning accordingly. But I know we're right at our time, but thank you so much, Rochelle, for sharing your wisdom with us today. And thank everyone for tuning in. And I will hope to see you back next week, where we are going to talk to Asia with Asia Sierra Budgets. And always, I make videos on ways that you can save, make money, and all things related to your finances. So if you haven't already subscribed yet, go on and click the red subscribe button down below and turn it until it turns gray. Check out Rochelle's channel as well. And remember that being frugal is not about being cheap. It's about being resourceful. And I will see y'all next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me.
All right.